Politics is described as the art of looking for trouble and finding it, diagnosing it incorrectly and applying the wrong remedy. But does that mean that there's no room for common decency and mutual respect? For this discussion and much more, I speak with the PNP aspirant for East Portland, as well as the caretaker councillor of the Fellowship Division, Mr. Collin Bell. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, my brother. One love, man. Thanks for having me.
So, politics has been described as a number of things. One of them is pretty much a blood sport. And we saw something like that. It's all over the newspaper and it was on the TV. We're going to throw to that clip and then we want to have your assessment of it.
You don't tour council caretaker?
No.
Is this a government of Jamaica tour?
Yes, but not you. You tour with the parish council.
So I am following.
No, you don't follow my tour. I'm not tour with this is not a political tour.
Right, and it's a government, so I want to know what is happening.
Caretaker not recognize. Hold on. Caretaker not recognize
I am a citizen of Jamaica. I want to know what is happening.
You hear me? Caretakers are not recognized in the Constitution of Jamaica.
I don't know about caretaker. I'm a citizen of this country, and I have interest in this.
Keep your interest to yourself.
No,
and your yard.
No, man.
Don't come on my tour. Don't come on my tour.
May I share my interests?
I don't need you here. I'm here with the member of parliament. That's enough.
Well, I am here.
You see the council with me?
I am here.
Me not tour with council. Tour with the mayor.
I am here.
All right, tour with the mayor.
I am here.
So who invited you?
I am a citizen of this
Only
country.
chink, doff, and fly when I'm invited.
Well, guess what? You know who you invite. So if you invite those, well.
So that was the minister with a portfolio for infrastructure and works.
Was that was the who?
Mr. Everall Warmington.
The who?
Everall Warmington.
Did you say minister?
What happened? What happened? Could you give us your assessment of that situation, that event?
What happened is basically what you saw. I got wind of the tour. I am involved in media as well. I'm a broadcaster myself. So I got wind of the tour. I went into the community, await the entourage, and I joined. Because my information was that, as you heard me ask, it's a government of Jamaica tour paid for by my tax dollars. So I want to know what was happening. So I trudged along. We went up to Comfort Castle. I did not tell anybody howdy. I didn't ask a question. I didn't make a comment. I got as close enough to them that I could hear what is happening. Then we went over to Cornwall Barracks. When they came out of the vehicle, he came directly to me. Are you the councillor candidate? And I said yes. And then what you saw on the clip happened. To where he called me. Well, he said only chink, fleas and flies go where they are not invited. But I guess he's not so bright as to also know that lions and tigers go where they are not invited. So I was there as the lion. And obviously when wimps see lion turn up, wimps get afraid. And obviously they had a bulldog and they called out the bulldog. But of course, you know, lions are not afraid of bulldogs.
So help me understand. This is, so you stated that you have gone to two, you had started the tour already, and this is somewhere in the middle of the tour that I saw you.
Yes. So, he was pointed out, and that's my view, that somebody pointed me out to him, because Everall Warmington don't know me. I'm a little country boy. They doesn't know me. So somebody felt uncomfortable by my presence, and I was pointed out to the minister.
All right. So do you expect an apology?
From who?
Well, from either...
An apology, my brother, is a big man thing, you know. It takes a big man to apologize, not somebody who grovels on the floor and wiggles like a worm. They are just not of that quality. And I don't see it as disrespect. I see it as a minister of government stating what his government is about. And that's what the government is about. They don't respect the citizens of this country. They don't respect our tax dollars because, let me tell you, Everall Warmington works for me. I am Everall Warmington boss. I don't work for Everall Warmington. Everall Warmington is paid by your tax dollar, my tax dollar, and the citizen of this country tax dollar. And you heard him admit that it was a government tour paid for by the people of Jamaica. There was about 4 NWA vehicles on the tour.
So don't you think that was a little extreme, because those views there, well, he was acting on his own. Those views, I wouldn't assume that those views were the views of the party.
An incident happened at the People's National Party headquarters Monday night. You heard an apology from the hierarchy of the People's National Party. You heard the person who commit one of the breach came out and was trying to apologize. Have you heard anything from the GLP except for the Minister of Energy and the Member of Parliament for West Portland going on a platform stating that him don't know me, calling me Shaka Shame?
So you're saying that an apology should be forthcoming from Prime Minister Andrew Holness?
At this stage, it shows me that it is a stance of the Jamaica Labour Party that was taken by Mr. Warmington. Here, what he said? He said, I don't tour with councillors and councillor caretaker.
Well, he stated that that's not included in the Constitution as well.
But we are citizens, and we have interests in the community. Unless he didn't know, when he said, if you keep me interest in my yard, that was my yard. I was not the only councillor caretaker present. The GLP councillor caretaker for the division was present. She was right there. So all of that is just showing that they have no respect for local government, and that's why they have put off the local government election for 4 times.
So you're sure it's a disrespect for local government, or is it a case whereby he viewed you as being the problem?
Me? You heard what come out of the man's mouth?
No, remember,
he called us chinks, fleas and flies, including you.
No, not us, because he pointed directly at you.
Injustice to one of us anywhere is injustice to all of us everywhere. And when Edward Warmington made those statements that chinks and flies and fleas go where they are not invited, he was not just talking to me. He was talking to every Jamaican who have an interest in the running of this country, who have an interest to all our politicians, our leaders accountable to what is happening, because all I wanted to do was to get the information. If you want to see bad roads, you have to come into the fellowship division. So when I hear that the Minister of Roads was coming, I was happy and very hopeful for my people that they would get some relief. So definitely, like a little child, me I run back at them, why you are going, because something go on. And this is how my Minister of Government treat a citizen of Jamaica.
They're pretty much saying that you believe that you had a right to be there.
I have every right to be there, and if they come tomorrow morning again, I'll be going.
In what capacity?
In my political capacity, speaking for the people of East Portland. I am the sole voice out there for the people of East Portland. With all the suffering that is happening in East Portland, with all the injustice that has been done to the people, I am the person out there talking for them. You hear about the Southern Coastal Highway from Boston to Port Antonio is in dust for over 3 years. I am the only person going out there making noise for it. The people don't have no water. I am the person going out there making the noise for it. The dust have killed them. In fact, you have a school called Boston Primary that sits right along the main road. The children are getting sick every week. Different children get sick. Drapers Primary, because they are in the dust and it's for over 3 years. You ever hear anybody talk about these things? That's why I hear them say me a troublemaker, because I am speaking on behalf of my people. I was born in the operating theatre of Port Antonio Hospital. And that's how I'm born. And that's how I live. Nobody now run me out of that village. All of we hear a talk, Warmington and the man where say my name Shaka Shame. Them not come from Portland. Them not live at Portland. They don't feel our pain.
So you're saying that Mr. Warmington's assault or attack was strictly based on political grounds?
Straight political.
Politically motivated?
Straight political. I'm a journalist and I'm a broadcaster. I could have told him that. But I was not there in that capacity on the day. Let's be honest and fair. I was there in my political capacity, wanting to know what is happening, what they are planning to do for the people of the area.
Well, you stated that you were there in your capacity as a private citizen as well, a citizen of Jamaica.
So all of that, because I am a citizen. So if you believe that shouldn't be there as a political representative, respect my right as a citizen. I wasn't there wearing a shirt marked PNP. I didn't even have an orange shirt.
So do you think, though, that Minister Warmington is outside the scope of his party's control?
You're asking the question in another way, and I'll answer you the very same way. Have you heard anybody from the Jamaica Labour Party reprimand him about it? The Minister of Information come out and reprimand what happened at the PNP HQ. Did you hear him or have you heard him said anything about what Edward Warmington said to me?
But that's two things,
I'll show you the example. The fact that something happened at PNP HQ and the PNP was not in agreement with it. They came out and gave a statement and an apology. Yeah? So if the GLP was not in league with what Warmington said to me, they would have made a statement and an apology. Yeah? So the fact that none was made and none has not been made to date means that that's the stand of the party.
So it's not an indication that they're unable to control him. It's just an assumption
But
or
all the other stuff
that
that
they're in agreement with what he's doing. That's what you're saying.
I see him as the party's bulldog. Things that those who pretend to be decent, that would not come out and say, him are the man will say it. Because him are the bullbuck and him are the dopey conqueror.
All right, talk to us about your division and East Portland in general. What is your assessment of the incumbent's performance?
As you heard me talk a while ago about nobody speaking for the people. East Portland has been run on autopilot. There's absolutely no management in the constituency, and that's why you have 3 roadblocks in 3 months? 2 in 2 weeks, the last 2. Because the people don't know what is happening. They don't speak to us. In fact, when you look at a road project like the Southern Coastal Highway from Harborview into Port Antonio, from Hector's River to Port Antonio, that's about 16 miles. That amount of work been done on the main thoroughfare, and to date, no public consultation meeting has been held with the citizens. There's a dust problem. There's a water problem. They closed down Blue Lagoon. The White River attraction was closed, and within 2 weeks it reopened. Blue Lagoon has been closed since August of last year. What is the difference? Why White River could open and Blue Lagoon can't open now?
Tell us.
Management. Management. There's no management in East Portland. Port Antonio has now been overrun with street people. You don't hear M, neither from the mayor nor the MP. The drought is on. Everybody know that. But at least now, communicate with the people and let people know when they're going to get water, who going to get in them pipe, who going to get truck water. No communication. And they try to blame the Water Commission. They try to blame the contractors on the road. I want to remind people that the decision to cut up the contract on the Southern Coastal Highway was a decision of this administration. Portia Simpson Miller signed the contract in 2015 under the last PNP administration. And when they got in power, instead of them do some due diligence and wonder why a new road is to be built, them decide that it doesn't make economic sense to build a new road from Harborview to Port Antonio. That's what Ardeshaw said when he was finance minister. And therefore, they told China Harbour that, listen, you have to split up the contract and get some local man. Fine, local man must get some other thing, but they must be supervised. The people who our taxpayers' money pay to supervise them are not supervising them. There's an unwritten rule that a contractor shouldn't dig up more than 3 kilometers of the road. The contractors are allowed to dig up the entire length of the contract.
You say an unwritten rule?
Yeah.
So how do we know?
Because when you talk to contractors, they tell you that the thing is you shouldn't dig up more than 3 kilometers at one time. So you dig up 3 kilometers, do all of your work you're doing, do your pipe, do your pressure test, then you fix back that and put back that in a nice drivable condition. Then you dig up another 3 kilometers. But because there is no management, no supervision, the contractors get to do whatever they want. And if you can make money easier than going through the right channel, you just go and make the money. So you talk about the incumbents, there's no management, no supervision, nothing happening.
All right, hold that thought 1 second. We go for our first break. This is The Conversation. Welcome back to The Conversation. Just before we went, you started by looking at, well, we spoke about poor management or no management. Which is it? Is it poor management or no management?
No management.
No management.
And I want to give you an example. I don't know if you remember, there was a news out that children from Happy Grove School and Fair Prospect was getting home at midnight. When the work started on the Southern Coastal Highway, they dig up from Happy Grove to Port Antonio. Well, there was 2 places that they didn't dig up. So there was 4 packages being worked on. All 4 packages was dug up at the same time.
As in 4 packages,
4 different
one behind the
contractor.
other? As in one behind
All
the
right,
other?
there's a space between 1 and 2.
Okay.
And then there's a space between 1 and 2, and there's a space between 2 and 3. But 3 and 4 is together.
Right beside each other.
So that's Boston to Port Antonio. So they dug up all the road at once. A lot of transportation operators withdrew their vehicle from the route. So that's from Port Antonio now to Happy Grove. Happy Grove is one of the traditional high schools. We have 2 of them, Titchfield and Happy Grove are the traditional. We have Port Antonio High and Fair Prospect High. So when they pull their transportation, their vehicles from the route, children start having problems to go to school because a little bit of vehicle, the road dig up. So where a busman could have make 2 trips from Port Antonio Happy Grove, between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock, it can only now make 1. Because it would take you, let's say, an hour from Port Antonio to Happy Grove, it start take you 2.5 hours because the road dig up. So the children now, when they leave school in the evening, some of them, in the exact area where the thing happened with Warmington, the children from that area was getting home at midnight. They called the office of the Member of Parliament and got no response. You know who they call next? Me. I don't have no authority, I don't have no power. They call me. And I start publicize it. And I don't just criticize people. When I criticize people, I give them a suggestion. And I said to them, bring over some JUTC bus or get some coaster and subsidize them. And after one long alabaloo, me depend how much different radio station, radio hosts now start take it up and start sympathize with me and the children them. Then they do the coaster thing. You never heard a single word from any other persons who are paid by our taxpayers' money to look after our children. Not one word. And that's why I said to you, my brother, there's no management in East Portland.
Also, for the sake of our viewers, we are saying this is Mrs. Anne-Marie Vaz. She is the current Member of Parliament. And you agree?
So I heard.
So you heard?
Yeah.
So
I've not seen the reasons to say, yeah.
Now, tell us, you are the People's National Party aspirant for the East Portland constituency. If you are elected, well, first of all, why should we even consider you to be the ideal candidate?
I have a vision for East Portland to move our people from street side greetings to business meetings, to create wealth for our people. And Port Antonio and Portland, East Portland, as any one parish, have the most natural attraction in Jamaica. In fact, cruise shipping in Jamaica started in Port Antonio. Right now it's non-existent. We are going to bring that back. We know what used to happen before. We know how the thing used to structure. That structure is no longer there. We are going to put back those structure in place that we start bringing back cruise ship. We are going to go into organized farming, organize our people, get them into agriculture, because the next PNP administration, one of our mantra is to bring down the food importation bill by at least 20% in the first 5 years of our administration. And that's a policy. If you talk to the minister, our opposition spokesman and finance, Julian Robinson, he'll tell you that that's a policy of the PNP. So we are going to get into organized farming to organize our people, get some of the idle lands into idle lands. We are going to bridge the gap between the College of Agriculture, Science and Education, which sits in the constituency. We're going to bridge that gap between them and the farmers so that the technical skills that the college possess, the farmers can have access to those skills and those know-how and the best practices so that we can get into farming. Because I tell you this, Jamaica should not be importing 1 ounce of meat. And I don't want the people who are importing meat to worry. Because if you do the thing right, where you say, all right, you are an importer, get in touch with local farmers. And if you're importing pork, say, all right, you grow the pigs, I take all the pigs from you. So you won't be cut out of the business. But it's just that we're going to keep the jobs here and allow the Jamaican dollar to breathe a little bit, because of the pressure on the dollar. We are going to set up Navy Island. I don't know if you know Navy Island. Yeah. Navy Island in Port Antonio. Have you any idea that Navy Island is 78 acres of land? 78 acres. The United Nations named Jamaica the indigenous place for reggae. What have we done? We are going to build up Navy Island into what I vision as World Reggae Park. build a 5-star hotel on it, put a statue of all reggae icons around it, digitize these statues where when you go on the island, you can go up to the statue, push in your thumb drive, swipe your credit card, download whatever information you want from the statue. We are going to make marijuana legal on the island. Like when you go to a hotel and you get your little champagne and your coffee, when you book into that 5-star hotel, you're going to get 1 ounce or 2 ounces of marijuana on your table just the same. You're going to have the Bob Marley suite, the Rita Marley lounge, the Peter Tosh restaurant. So it's going to be a reggae museum by itself.
But have you considered the kind of infrastructure that we would want? Do we have, one, the processes, and 2, the finances to accommodate something like that? The
finances should be easy. You get into a private-public partnership to get the finances for something like that, because in Port Antonio you have 2 harbors. We have a twin harbor in Port Antonio. You have the West Harbor and the East Harbor. The West Harbor can take small cruise ship, but the East Harbor, if developed, can take the major cruise lines. So if you partner with one of those cruise lines to build out Navy Island as such an attraction, it would be crazy. So the money is out there. If you get the right investors right now, our hotel is going to be spending $1 billion in St. Ann. So
the question that I have, because I'm thinking my wheels are turning, and I want to ask you about the cruise shipping and all of that, but let's move a little beyond that for a second. Do you think that you have what it takes to take down Mrs. Vaz? Because we have a former People's National Party vice president in the person of Damian Crawford who tried.
If Damian had 2 more weeks, he would have won the election. I have had 52 years in the constituency. Yeah?
You say 52 years, and remember that Minister Warmington doesn't know you. That's 52 years of being under the radar.
But the people of East Portland knows me. I am not an unknown entity. I have been on television since 1995 in East Portland. In fact, we started the local community channel thing. And we had one of the best from 1995 come up to about 2000 and maybe about 2015. We were there. We've been on radio up till December last year. I have my own YouTube channel, Portland Spice TV, where I speak to my people every Saturday morning, and that's something that I plan to maintain. So I'm not an unknown entity in Portland. If you go into Portland and say Shaka Fame, everybody know me. And I tell you the truth, I'm not even unknown in Jamaica. I've MC most of the major stage shows in Jamaica. I was one of the MC on the last thing. So I have toured with most of Jamaica top reggae artists, Beanie Man, I-Octane, Queen Ifrica, Luciana, you name them. I've gone over 27 countries touring with reggae artists.
So you're saying that you have the capability of taking down, but what about the machinery though?
It's not me having the capability. The people of Portland are tired of saucer talk and beating chests and bullyism. The people of Portland and East Portland, they are not in love with the people you think they are in love with. They fear them. But that has gone. The people has grown beyond that and realized, listen man, this is not working for us.
So you are saying that the people of Portland, specifically, well, broadly speaking, and specifically East Portland,
they are the ones who are going to take them down,
They are no longer in love with Mr. and Mrs. Portland.
They were never in love with them. Some people come and beat up them chest to them can't do this. The man from West Portland is in his 4th term. Him not just come. Look at West Portland. The pretty road that is run through West Portland has nothing to do with him. That was built by P.J. Patterson. That's the North Coast Highway from Negril to Port Antonio.
But he's there for 4 terms for a reason. There must be a reason why he's there.
Let me not tell you, man. Beating up your chest, running off your mouth, telling people that you put food on them table.
No, man, I understand if after the first election, well, if that got you there the first instance, then what about the second, and the third, and the 4th instance?
Yeah, man, him win them there. And the truth of the matter is, he has never even been challenged. Normally, somebody come in there a couple months before the election. I'm just hoping that my party get somebody in that constituency early, and you will see a difference if people campaign against him. None of the people that run against him before really go out there and campaign against him. Have you ever heard him calling any of his opponent names on any stage from that time till now? I am the only person you hear him go up on stage last Sunday night and call my name because they see trouble.
No, perhaps there was no need for that, because I'm looking
trouble never did there.
Looking at the current state of the People's National Party now. Do you honestly think that the PNP has what it takes to mount a good offensive?
Let me tell you this. The People's National Party is Jamaica's only hope right now. the country is in a nosedive. The country is nosediving. Crime is out of control. People are suffering as it comes to their food bill. People can't buy food.
But let me interject and say that hope is not strategic, you know. So what I want to hear, what strategies would you have, well, not you generally, specifically, but your party would have to ensure that you are able, one, firstly, to win, and then secondly, to implement all these ideas that you have?
All right, so if you listen to the budget debate, you would have heard Comrade Julian Robinson spoke about what we are having in Jamaica now, that low-tech, low-income economy, and that the next PNP administration will move to a high-tech, high-income economy. We have the plans to move this economy within a term. We talk about the creative industry, that what is happening here right now is a part of that industry. And when you look at the creative industry, it's $1 trillion a year industry. What is Jamaica making from it? The People's National Party, we have come up with a plan and the idea to use the creative industry to turn this economy around. The only legal way a 10-year-old can become a millionaire is in the creative industry. We are going to put our people to work. We are going to start the training in videography, sound engineering, lighting, video editing. We are going to go on a massive training for that. The Minister of Finance put $1 billion in the industry the other day. Well, it's over 4 years he's going to put that $1 billion to the film industry. So I am saying to the minister, good try, wrong direction.
Tell me about your party's leader and the selection process that's happening now.
I'll tell you something.
What are your views on that?
Mark Golding will be the best prime minister Jamaica has ever seen. From I was a little boy, I got a vision that the country must be run as a business. And what we have had all these years are people who have no business experience running the biggest business. Mark Golding is a tried and proven businessman. And he's going to bring that into running the country so that we can turn the economy around. But some persons might argue that he is equally as poor at politics. So it's the opposite. So in business, he's great. In politics, not so great. What's your view? Some people see politics as a career. We see politics as a tool. He's not a career politician. No, that's what I say. What I say, I'm a businessman myself. We see politics as a tool. So we are going to use politics to bring in the policies that is necessary to run this country like a business. You ever hear a hammer get big up over the carpenter? Is the carpenter get big up, not the hammer? So politics is the tool that we are going to use to change a nation. And watch this. When you run a tight company, efficient and effective and cut waste, it's easier for you to make a profit. Would that be how you're describing the People's National Party now? A tight business running effectively and efficiently, cutting waste? Would that be a good description now? It's the country are looking at that way, you know, but if you bring it to the party, we are setting it up. It is setting up. And most of the constituencies don't have anybody in them right now, and we're talking, you asked me about the selection process. One layer has been had to the selection process that is causing a lot of halabaloo. And sometimes people don't accept changes that easily. But that's one layer one layer has caused issue in St. Elizabeth, in St. Anne, and now in St. Catherine. You know, let me tell you something. You know what caused the problem in St. Anne? A lack of understanding. Because if people had made a phone call, they'd have realized that the thing won't come to the delegates. But what the party is doing is ensuring that the candidates that goes before the delegates are winnable. The party is in there to form government, you know. Because you have a lot of people who can win a selection. Because you have a lot of people in the party long time. They know all the delegates, them and the delegates, them go through the trenches. Some of the delegates, them are them family. So if you're going a delegate selection with them, they can win. What the party is now doing is to make sure that they can win an election. So anybody who goes before the delegate would have gone through the scientific poll, and the poll would have said, yes, these people are winnable. So anybody the delegates choose can win. So that's all the party is doing, you know. It's sieving out who can win the election, but can win a selection. So we heard about a veto power, you know, but I don't think we have enough time to look at that part. That has always been there. That has always been there. Both parties have it. The GLP used it to bring in the present finance minister when Derek Smith resigned. They use it to bring in Tufton. The PNP used it to bring in Damian Crawford in East Portland. Lisa another one at Senton. So every leader have used it. So 30 seconds. You think that the maths can maths out because we have 49, we have 14. Listen, that's the odds, you know. Listen, the people of Jamaica I've seen it. You can fool some people sometime. You can't fool other people all the time. This government is incompetent. They are visionless. In fact, you see, they want to shuffle the cabinet now, and what they're trying to do. Beg some people to resign from the Senate so they can appoint some new senators to get some minister. The pool that they have is lack talent. And therefore, the people of Jamaica know that their only hope is the People's National Party. We are going to move this country from a low-tech economy to a high-tech economy, high income. What we are earning now is not a livable wage. People are suffering. People can't pay bus fare. They can't pay the rent. They can't pay the light bill. Teachers, after 2 weeks after their salary, are struggling to go to school. If we don't turn up the production in this country, we're going to continue to suffer.
So based on all that you're saying, I'm sure that we have to bring you back. So thank you very much for a very robust discussion. We have more after the break. This is The Conversation.
It's a pleasure. Thanks much.
Welcome back to The Conversation. The People's National Party has issued an apology over threats that were hurled at a journalist while covering protest action at the party's St. Andrew headquarters. We also have senior parliamentarians from the People's National Party condemning the incident in Parliament.
Madam Speaker, the Minister of Information has quite rightly condemned certain activities that took place yesterday evening. Those activities were indeed unfortunate and grave, and I think we have already indicated as a party our full support to all journalists, to persons who carry out the function of informing the society and ensuring that information is relayed in a responsible way. And by and large, we have always found, by and large, the community of journalists to be quite reasonable, even though from time to time both sides will claim that justice might not be fair, but it is fundamental for our democracy to survive that this arm of our democracy, which is the fourth estate, should not feel in any way threatened at any time or any place in our country. So the party has in fact condemned what happened yesterday. The party has unreservedly apologize to the individuals who were present and to the fraternity in general. And this opportunity will not be used to point fingers, but to accept that it should not have happened. And that where the investigations lead, and we will fully cooperate with that, and the chips should fall where they may. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
We take a break. More on The Conversation when we return. Welcome back to The Conversation. Information Minister Robert Morgan has also condemned the threats that were issued against the journalists at the recent meeting or protest action at the People's National Party's headquarters in St. Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as Minister with responsibility for information, on behalf of the government of Jamaica and all well-thinking Jamaicans, I strongly condemn the recent attacks on journalists last evening at the PNP headquarters, including the specific incidents that have been brought to light. In particular, I want to address the incident that occurred where a journalist was threatened with rape by a supporter of the party. This threat is completely unacceptable and represents a new low in the treatment of journalists in Jamaica. We are deeply disturbed, Madam Speaker, by the trauma that this incident has undoubtedly caused for the female journalist who was present. We are deeply disturbed by the trauma that this incident has undoubtedly caused for the female journalist who was present. And I want to make it clear that sexual violence has no place in Jamaican society, and certainly not as a tool of intimidation against journalists. I stand with the Press Association of Jamaica in their condemnation of these attacks. The PAG has reported that there were 2 incidents that occurred almost simultaneously at the PNP headquarters. In addition to the incident involving the threat of rape, a Television Jamaica crew was also threatened by a supporter. The supporter reportedly picked up a stone and began approaching and threatening the reporter before eventually throwing away the stone. These actions are completely unacceptable and a violation of the fundamental rights of journalists. There was also an incident where a PNP Correction Deputy General Secretary sought to prevent a journalist from interviewing persons and also chastise media workers for the color clothing they were wearing. Madam Speaker, it is the responsibility of the PNP to ensure that their supporters do not engage in such behavior in the future. As a government, we are committed to upholding the principles of press freedom and freedom of speech, which are cornerstones of our democracy. Journalists play a critical role in providing information to the public, and they must be able to do so without fear of violence or intimidation. The actions of the individuals are a direct threat to our democracy and cannot be tolerated. I want to reiterate the importance of press freedom and freedom of speech in Jamaica. We have a strong history of protecting these rights, and it is important that we continue to do so. The recent incidents are particularly troubling, given that they occurred just 1 week after World Press Freedom Day, on which Jamaica plunged in the Global Press Freedom Index, moving from 12 to 32. I want to assure the media and the public that the safety and security of journalists are a top priority for our government. Any attack on the press is an attack on our democracy itself, and we will not stand for it. I call on all political parties and their supporters to respect the role of journalists and to refrain from any actions that may threaten their safety or independence. The PAG has called for a thorough investigation, and we support their call for justice to be served. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I want to express our support for the journalists who are affected by these incidents. We on this side, stand in solidarity with them and want to reassure them that their work is valued and appreciated. We will continue to work to ensure that journalists are able to carry out their duties without fear of violence and intimidation. We must all do our part to uphold the principles of press freedom and freedom of speech in Jamaica. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That's it for the conversation. I am Kwame Thomas. See you soon.